Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Music Monday show. And you just heard It is from the album Piano Pandemic. It's by San Francisco based, well, he's not based in San Francisco anymore, but San Francisco composer, percussionist, and recording artist, X-Man, also Charles Xavier. And you can go to his website, happynoterecords.com. I like that name. That's the website to go to. He's also on Bandcamp. You can get it there. Good place to buy music. But welcome, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for inviting me to the show.
Now, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Because there's Javier and Xavier. Like, how do we pronounce your last name to get it correctly?
Well, being Portuguese, we just keep it straight, Charles Xavier. But
Xavier. Okay, so it is
Javier. Some people say the Carlos Javier. But yeah, for me, it's Chuck Xavier, Charlie Xavier,
or
straight ahead America.
The X-Man. The X-Man. So is that what, because Little Portugal, you've got that on the album. So tell us about that. Does that connect back to your heritage?
It does. Little Portugal is actually a song about my hometown, New Bedford, Massachusetts. And so it's about the Portuguese heritage, being Portuguese, the lyrics all correspond to the city. Growing up on the East Coast, in New Bedford, there's a really large Portuguese community. And we've got the biggest Portuguese feast in America called the Madeira Feast that happens every August in New Bedford, Mass.
Cool. So I was saying that, you were based in San Francisco, but tell us a little bit about this, because I heard you're going on tour with your dog in an RV and off you roll.
That's right. Next Friday, pack up the RV. I've got several musical instruments in there. Going to be recording a concept that I'm coming up with called Rec Van Improv. Sort of like carpool karaoke, where I'll be with an artist who will play his CD and the artist will play his instrument to the CD in different places. So I'm just starting to reach out to musicians across the country. We're going to do the northern route, go through Reno, Salt Lake City, Denver, Chicago, all the way across America. And, if you've got a new record and you want to perform on Rec Van Improv, reach out to us.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I could send you a big fat list of musicians. I swear, I think Nancy and I were talking about, we're going to just put out one magazine issue just dedicated to all the new music that's come out through the pandemic. And, when you think about Piano Pandemic, or I should say Pandemic Piano, which I love the name, tell us a little bit about that, because I know you're also a percussionist, you're composing. There's the music, to me, there's so much that's so beautiful and connects with nature, and it's in deep emotion. And then all of a sudden we'll get to some songs where you're like, there's a little turbulence, there's some friction going on, there's a little anxiety. So you take us on kind of a journey of emotion. Were all of these songs written during the pandemic? Or tell us a little bit about that part of all the compositions.
Sure. They were, some of them are just improvisations. Most of them are songs I wrote in the 80s, and I've been performing since the 80s. Little Portugal is one. I Sat Outside There, those are all songs from my performing with my band Satori on the East and West Coast, jazz quartet. And so Pandemic Piano kind of happened. I was composing avant-garde synthesizer music, and it was very dark and aggressive, waking up doing that. And I said to myself, I need to change this, and just switch. And so I would go from this aggressive music and just put on the piano and start improvising. And I did that for a month and probably had 70 compositions to pick from, and picked 28 that are on the first album. And that's how it occurred. It was just sort of, I needed to, just have some positive ambient music. It's not really a jazz album. It's very reflective. Some of the songs, yeah, you can just meditate to,
Mm.
do
One of my
yoga.
favorites is
Yeah.
Evening. Evening on there is beautiful, and it's because you go from morning to evening, and you have these little different nuances, of just change and what's going on in the world. But like when you're saying reflective, I find it very much that kind of album. But you do have some of that darkness in there, a little bit in there, just a little bit to kind of jolt you around a little bit, just when you get too comfortable. That's what art is, right? It's supposed to kind of prod us a little bit. So I found that
Yes.
there was that in there, which is great.
Oh yeah. No, it goes from the ambient reflective to, tension and
Yeah,
dissonance.
that's the word, tension. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did experiment with the synthesized electric piano, coming up with sort of like my tribute to Stanley Kubrick, the 2001, and those kind of, turbulent synths albums. So there's a little bit of that in there. Being it's supposed to be an ambient piano album, I didn't want to go too far in that direction. So the majority of it is very calming and easy to listen to. And so many people enjoy it. A lot of piano players that really stretch out and, play intense jazz, they say that I really hit it. The whole album has a sound, Sometimes pianists can play 20 different styles, but they don't have one style to put out on a record. Sometimes it's, they're just versed into meeting what the studio needs, being a studio session player. So, I'm limited in my technique, and sometimes that creates a way of playing.
I think that you've got this balance, and I wanted to ask you about that because of being a drummer too, that you have this balance of obviously keeping rhythm and time and then switching it up a little bit, but you have this openness that allows, and I was talking about this with another musician too, actually, about being able to breathe. Even it's like when you read, and I think there's something about art where it's got to sometimes stop your breath, like kind of stop you, wake you up. But then you have to be able to have this breathing moment so it can actually, you can absorb the art, whether you're reading, viewing, listening. I think really your album has this sensibility of like sucking you in, even if it's something that's tense and has that tension in there, maybe a little bit of anxiety, because it's something we recognize and you're like, oh crap, yeah, that's life, isn't it? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, but there's this beauty over here. So you have this amazing balance of allowing us to breathe and feel and take us through those emotions. And I think that's an important thing to an album, is to have the ability to let us kind of breathe it in and sit with it and be with it. You know what I mean? So did that come from being a percussionist too, understanding the timing? Or do you not even think about that and you just play it, since a lot is also improv?
Well, sometimes I do, come up with rhythmic patterns in the improvisation that are very percussive in nature. And I think the difference is there's this thing where I'm trying to get a calm and happy sound, but then there's life comes right into the music, and life is challenging. And so the music does challenge the listener at points, because that's, we're not on this happy ride. It's, every day we wake up, we're challenged. The world doesn't stop because, we put ourselves in an RV or something. There's always going to be challenges no matter where you go and what you do. So it wasn't always happy, reflective. Sometimes I let the music challenge the listener.
Because you can have the tension, but then you got to have that freedom out, because that is what life is, the ebb and flow of the ocean, right? So that's exactly what you hear in there. So tell us a little bit about, you go from Massachusetts, Bedford, Massachusetts, right? And we did touch through Massachusetts for the first time about, it was the middle of August, and we're in a wildlife refuge. And I didn't know you guys had swamps up there, but you do. But we ended up in a swamp and then ended up on some dirt road in a farm. And I thought I was going to get shot, but we didn't. But it was just on, I really don't, all I know is we just paid the toll fine, toll fine or something like that for getting there. But so we don't know much about Massachusetts, but well, I know a lot of musicians who actually went up from like Florida to Massachusetts, kind of right in the punk rock, beginning of the punk rock era and everything. They're like, there was just a lot of music going on up there. What led you from Massachusetts to San Francisco?
I was contemplating moving to New York, Amsterdam, or LA. And my good friend Al Jamadis had a gig in LA. And he said, I'm leaving in a week. I need someone to drive out to LA with me. And I was like, you kidding? He goes, yeah, no. Would you like to go? I'll pay your way. You just need to alternate driving. So he had a Hammond B3 organ and a Steinway Boisendorfer piano in the van, loaded up my Rogers drum kit. And we couldn't fit the vibraphone. And I was like, well, I got to take my vibe. He goes, I'll buy it from you. Leave it in New Bedford. It's mine. Let's go. So, because he needed to get there. And he just said, you got to leave it. So that's how it happened. It was literally, he had a gig. We drove 3 days nonstop, just alternating, and in 3 days I was in LA. It was that quick. I had just put an engine in a Volkswagen bus from a Common Gear with my dad, and I said, Dad, I ain't got no time to sell this. Here's the keys. I'm off to California. And it was that quick.
Wow. And so from LA you ended up in the Bay Area from that one gig?
Well, I was in LA 20 years. I had a studio there called Happy Media in Burbank. And, we produced music and film. We did a lot of, sound effects for B movies. So when they localize, a movie into French or German, they take out the dialogue. It leaves holes that you got to fill with, birds and ambience. So I did a lot of, B films and every kind of band, punk bands, rock bands, rap bands. Cool. Everything came through Happy Media for about 10 years. And then we had an opportunity to move to the Bay Area in 98 with the tech industry. My wife works in the tech industry. I sold my gear there, moved up to the Bay, and I worked for the #1 post-production facility there, Polarity Post, where I went into localizing video games. So localization is when you take a video in English and you localize it into Spanish, Japanese, Korean. Did all that for 10 years and ended my post-production career creating Siri, where I produced probably 10 languages of Siri with the Apple and Nuance team. Yeah.
Wow. See, I knew it when I was listening to your music. I'm like, there's a multifaceted things going on here. I knew there was more. Like I just knew, like there was more going on. There was no way you were, just music, that there was other pieces flying around there. I knew it. I was like, I could place a bet on it because you could hear. And I think that also is to be said when you talk with a jazz musician, there's other things going on, and it's like putting it together. You know what I mean? I think that there's a multifaceted thing there with creativity. Why let it only be one thing? Let it fly. You can be open,
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, a lot of musicians they do music, but I'm a sound designer. I design, sound for film and TV. So, it's all sound, like Dizzy Gillespie. It's just, good sounds and bad sounds. So I do mix music with sound effects, with Walla Walla, with dialogue. I've got like 7 albums, and some of them are sort of like, very electronica, like Zappa, very experimental. And then I did a surround sound Christmas album with the vibraphones and marimbas going
Yeah, I
all
saw that you're
around.
doing music. I was like, you're into Christmas music. What's going on here? And he's playing Christmas music and then he's getting on an RV and off he goes. I like tell me about the song Round Hill, because there's such a different sound. It's neat. Tell us about that one. Is that something new, or is that something that you wrote before? But Round Hill, I don't know, it just kind of got me.
Interesting. Round Hill is like this estate that was in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and there's an amazing story. It's related to this woman, Hetty Green, who was the richest woman in the world back then during the whaling days, and she was very greedy and wouldn't spend money. So her son, Colonel Green, she didn't operate on his leg, so he had a bad leg. He inherited richest woman in the world. He inherited all this money. He built this mansion called Round Hill, and he was very extravagant. I think the book is called Under the Plum Tree, and it's an amazing book about this woman's life, Hetty Green, and how she controlled the stock market and what her son did. So Round Hill is the actual estate that he built, and he was just a wacky kind of guy. So I used to drive out there on my scooter, at a Lambretta scooter, when I was a teenager, and I would hang out at Round Hill because he was, he had been dead for a couple decades at that point. And I just, I took in the theme and the stories, and, it does have lyrics about on Round Hill, the men they used to fly, they ride their balloons so high, because it's just magical, mystical place.
That's because that's what came through in the song to me. There was like this, I don't want to say ethereal, but then it was like you transported us in this other place. It just was like you're elevated. There's a mysticism to it. Mystical, magical, like you were saying. Like I was like, okay, where is this place? So that's interesting. I didn't know this whole story behind it, but I was listening. I was like, where are we going now? This is cool. This is otherworldly almost.
Yeah, look her up, Hetty Green, an amazing personality. They do tours. People dress up as her and act as her. When you you can do the Hetty Green tour. I'm told. I haven't done it.
Oh, yeah. Wow. We're going to have to check it out when we get to Massachusetts and spend some time there. So does nature influence your music?
Oh, sure. I have to resist not putting ambiances behind, like ocean sounds. I wanted to do that on the piano album, but I said, no, you can do that. When I perform it live, I'll have some oceans and some birds and some ambiances, but nature, I'm always listening. And sometimes nature can be very disturbing. Right now, every day I wake up and there's a demolition crew across the street demolishing a school with 7 bulldozers, and all I do is hear noise all day. So, it's going to be.
But that's traumatic, sounding. When they're taking trees down.
Yes.
I got to a point, well, I'm very, very nature connected, and it'd be weird because I'll be, working away on something and all of a sudden get this feeling of just angst and just be upset and pissed. There's like, and have no clue out of the blue that I'm upset, and I'll go around the corner. They're taking a tree down. It's like you can feel it if you're connected to trees and nature. And it's a really disturbing, horrible feeling when they just I don't know. We're tearing things down. We paved, paved paradise, right? Joni Mitchell will
Mhm.
sit there and, we pave it, then we tear it down, but we're not putting nature back. And we need to, nature wants to come back, So it's a disturbing thing what you're talking about when you see that destruction, because they're destroying nature again too, in
Yeah.
history.
Well, and
Yeah.
what you're experiencing, living amongst nature is what I'm, I really want to get out Utah and just hit a little gong and let the sound reverberate with no sounds around me. I'm
And
very much
that
looking forward to that.
you're gonna have to search. And I think our national parks are some of the best places for it. And it being on the road for so long, going and documenting parks and public lands, it's changing. And why we do it is, it's getting harder to take photographs of nature without a telephone pole or trash, or those negative things. But at the same time, there's wilderness areas that's pristine that you'll just blow your freaking mind away, like, this is all here, why aren't we doing more to take care of it and experience it? And so you're going to definitely find that it's just it
It's
we
so
all need it.
vast.
We need it. It's part of our
Yeah.
soul, and we've lost it a little bit. I think music connects. It'll be interesting to hear you create music as you go. Are you going to be doing that? I know you're going to have people in the RV, in the van, doing its thing. It's like jam in the van. You got to do jam in the van. Have you done jam in the van? You got to go and jam in the van. But
We'll be jamming.
are you going to record new music as you travel and capture what you know those experiences in music?
Oh yeah. No, I've got a GoPro camera. I've got
Cool.
the iPhone 12, and instead of getting a computer, I bought the iPad Pro to use the extra camera. It's a little hard using it as a computer too,
Mm.
because I can't bring my iMac with the big screen in this little RV. So I've got this it doesn't work like a computer. It doesn't have Finder like a computer. So I got to figure out new ways of doing certain things. But that also, I never used a lot of apps, and this is going to make me use these apps. I'm reading the book RV Hack or RV Hacks, and they recommend 10 different apps to use while you're traveling. So yeah, this will be, it's a whole new way to travel and use technology.
Yeah,
Very
I
exciting.
mean, it was weird going from, remember we used to do live radio shows and print out who was coming out, like because it was like, you don't want to do it the screen. There was like, I can't believe we used to print out notes, for our live radio shows. And then it was like, we're going on the road. We can't, no more paper, no printers, none of that. No, I mean, really no file cabinets. What are you going to do? And, things have
Right.
really changed over the last 10 years. You're going off and, it's, I mean, it's so much, you can really do this now compared to when we started. I mean, at one point, hotel rooms, their internet really sucked, and it's still kind of, depending on where you are, could be rough where you go. But I mean, the digital world has stepped up to be able to have apps like you're talking about. You don't need half of what you think. We just get so used to the way we work and do things. Now, I mean, we have a laptop each. I mean, we fit everything in a RAV4 for two people. We're allowed one suitcase each, one carry bag. The rest is our work, and unfortunately a whole back seat full of brochures that I've now had to learn to just photograph everything and don't pick up all the pamphlets. So I'm just going to say, don't pick up all the pamphlets. But it's true. If you're
Right.
going to bring something in, you're going to have to take something out. So it's a very almost, I don't want to say Buddhist, but it's a very simplistic way of living. And you don't have as many worries about things. It's
I believe that. Yeah, it's going to, once I get in there with just the tools that I'm bringing, because I have 3 or 4 little mini pianos, and even one of them I might not be able to take. But once I decide on that, there'll be no printer, like you said. I won't be able to print. I'll just have this iPad Pro, using it as a computer. And with the album coming out today, being released, I've doing all the work with the
Congratulations, by the
publicist.
way. I know this is
Thank you.
airing later, but and listen, it's California Day today too. It's the anniversary of the admission of California as the 31st U.S. state. So how about that?
All right.
Good for you.
Big celebration day. Yeah.
Why not?
Records out, California. It's a good day. Yeah.
But yeah,
Very
I think
nice.
and you're going to take your dog, so that's cool. And
yeah. Ella's
wow.
a Great Pyrenees. She's
Oh.
110 pounds. And she's not in love with the RV, but she has slept in it 2 nights. Right now, I'm sleeping in the RV in my driveway because the house is staged that we just sold. And Ella's sleeping on the grass, dirt. So she's kind of a little dirty. I'm going to get her groomed tomorrow. So she's all groomed up for the Ella Across America tour. We're gonna have a great time. It's going to be
exciting.
a
So are you just
wonderful
going,
experience.
or do you have like a return date, or you just going to see, just go for it?
Well, driving to Boston and going to end up in New Bedford, Massachusetts. I'm gonna take care of my mom. She's 91, and my sister's there. So yeah, that'll be my base, and then I'll be touring with the RV. New England, go down to Florida, and then I'm really I want to go to Europe and perform in Europe next year. But
awesome.
First I got to get cross country.
Yeah. No, it's going to be awesome. And it's a beautiful time of year to drive. It really is. You're going to see the fall colors too. Even in the Southwest, the desert Southwest has amazing fall colors. I know that you're from, New England, definitely,
the foliage.
Yeah. But this is a little different, and just even the geology is just mind blowing. So I'm very excited to hear music from you, from your experience, because I think it's going to be magic. I think you're going to dig it, and something new will come. Do you paint by any chance?
No painting. I'll do digital drawing.
Okay. Yeah.
But I haven't done that in about 3 years. I did it for about a year, and then I just stopped because I got so focused on. I've got 2 the synthesizer albums called Recovery that will be coming out, and then I made Pandemic Piano, and then all these concepts for the live stream show and the Rec Van Improv. So just working on all kind of ideas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, production.
I bet you end up doing some art. I bet you. I have a feeling. I'm just saying it can happen. So happynoterecords.com. I know you're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and we're going to play COVID Oddity. And so tell us about the dancers. Where did you film that, by the way? COVID Oddity.
It's Pebble Beach, Monterey.
Okay.
The producer, Mark Baer, he produces a lot of. He's got a show that he interviews artists in the Monterey area, dancers, singers, all kind of artists. Very unique concept. So he produced that video. Mark and I, he did an audio book movie where usually audiobooks just have a narrator. We created one in the 90s with 24 actors. We called it an audio movie, and it's titled Double or Nothing. And it featured Leif Garrett was the lead actor, Leif Garrett, the pop singer, and his best friend, Michael Hutchins from In Excess.
Yeah.
He was in it.
No
we
way.
hung out for a week, just, hanging, doing music in the studio, creating this project. And a week later was when he died. and committed the suicide,
Yeah, it's so
and we
sad.
lost him. Yeah, but
I think he's one
yeah,
of the best singers out there to this day. I think he was just an incredible talent, you know what I mean? And it's just every time I go back to NXS, it's not necessarily actually even the kind of music I would always listen to, but no matter what, he had that hook that nobody else could sound like him. No one, and it's a
yeah,
good band. They're a badass band, but you know what I mean? It just, yeah, that's really sad. But how special that you got to spend some time and do a creative project like that. That's cool, you know?
yeah. I mean, he just the creativity pours out of him, whether he's singing, acting, just hanging out. He's
Mhm.
he's a
Creative
he's a
person.
creative person. When you're around these creative people, they're just so vibrant. You just pick up on
This
it all the time.
the sky's
I
the
love
limit with
working.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing. Creativity can go in, and that's why I feel like you're very multifaceted creative wise, just
mhm.
listening to the album, yet you've got the flow of everything. It just is like, I'm like, no, no, you're doing other things. That's why I was like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, no, you're doing a bunch of other things. I know it. And so it's true. Like I could just tell that. And I think that's, you know, so important these days for artists to have that integrity to art, and we really do have a lot of good music out there. I don't want to ever hear anybody say that there's crap music out there, because it's not true. Just don't listen to mainstream media because they're playing
Exactly. Yeah.
the same song over and over again. So that's the one thing. I have one tip for you as you're traveling across the country. Don't listen to the radio unless you get to a college town, because it'll be the same playlist with the same songs. And as soon as you cross the county line, you'll get to hear the same playlist over again. I'm just saying. I don't care what station it is, it's the same thing. So, but but when you get to a college town, you'll hear all kinds of good local stuff. That's the thing we've learned from travel is I wish we had better radio, you know.
Yeah, and we used to have college music journal when I released my first album in 2005, which was very jazz, funk, rock kind of,
Mm.
Zappa meets Parliament.
Dude, that's cool. That would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like that
it,
would be badass. Yeah.
it was wild. But the college music journal, the DJs that when we sent it to all these colleges, they wanted to do the interviews. They get very excited about the music, and then they had this own like top 10 list in the college music journal, but that did go away probably 5 or 6 years ago. That doesn't
Oh.
exist. So everything's changing.
Mhm.
Um, I don't really, I want to use the program Waves. I'm hearing
Mhm.
people that are using Waves that when they drive near a college town, if you get it to market your music, it will tell people that you're going to be busking at a
Oh.
certain corner or coffee shop. So I haven't done that yet, but I know the real estate agent uses Waves to get people who are interested in houses say, oh, here's a house in the neighborhood. So yeah, this technology can actually, uh, let people know that you have a performance 5 miles away from them,
Yeah,
and they
I
can go and
agree.
see it.
I agree.
So
The world has just changed. It has. I mean, we come from a print magazine background, and
mhm.
so I mean, we've had to go through every change you can imagine. And, we were pre-Google. I mean, I know people, there was a time when there was no Google and we had big books called Netscape. And I saw the Netscape book and I'm like, I want to create a Netscape book with cool stuff in it. So that's kind of what we're doing now, but it's when we look at these things that have gone away, it's just a sign of change. And I think it's we can get all crazy and complain about new things, but I think it's so creative, and it's how we utilize it and what we do with it to make it all work. I mean, like you're saying, there are so many apps and digital ways of connecting with people and announcing and doing that. It's exciting. And yeah, I mean, if you can do busking across the country, that'll be cool. Finding the places that allow that is cool. You've got an RV, so you can always do it that way too, which is different. You could busk in campgrounds.
Yeah, I kind of look at it's like if the way they bring food trucks together to
Mhm.
serve food to people,
Oh
I
yeah.
think these traveling artists, they say we're going to create this little festival. Let's meet at this park, and if 5 or 6 musicians that are on the road get that message and meet at that park and sell their merch and create a little event. I mean, it's being created in real time. It's like, hey, I'm going to be in Salt Lake City tomorrow. Are there any other artists that want to perform together and do a little trio thing? That's going to happen. It's
That's
amazing, but
cool.
that will happen
Yes,
through
it
this
will.
technology.
That's
And
awesome. That's exciting. You sound excited, right? You're ready to roll.
yeah, I'm just waiting for the generator to arrive.
Sweet.
So once I have that generator, then I can power the music anywhere I'll be. So
That is awesome. We're so excited for you and excited for the album, but I know that once you get on the road, it's going to change because that's the way it is, and it's going to
mhm.
be awesome because the creativity will come out of it. And I'm excited to follow your journey. Everyone, happynoterecords.com. Okay, go get it. Go get the album out, Pandemic Piano. It's also on Bandcamp, so you want to do that. Also, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor of today's show, which is the National Parks Arts Foundation. We love, love, love them. We have a show every first Friday with them where we interview their artists in residence. They have this amazing program where you can apply to be an artist in residence for a month in a national park unit like Hawaii Volcanoes, Haleakala in Hawaii. There's Chaco Canyon out in northern New Mexico. There's Dry Tortugas, national park where you could be on your own island for a month. Like seriously, your own island. Like you could be your own Gilligan and create, which I think is super cool. So it's so remote you actually have to take someone with you because you're off on the it's a off the grid island kind of thing. So I don't know if they'll let you bring your dog. I'm just saying, Charles, they might. But so check them out at nationalparksartsfoundation.org, and of course keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. But here it is. We're going to play COVID Oddity, and for those watching, enjoy the video, and those listening, enjoy the music. And again, happymenrecords.com. Thanks so much, Charles, and good luck on your travels. Break a leg.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's going to be a great time. Thanks for having me on your show, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Thank you.